Yes, indeed, Toyota still builds and sells the Sequoia. I mean, I don't want to make a joke or anything, but I think Toyota's historical archives only go as far back as the first year of production of this thing. No, but seriously, it dates back to 2007, and it's amongst the oldest vehicles on the road in North America at the moment. And frankly, it doesn't really matter. There's only one real issue with this truck, and I'll get to it in a moment, and you can probably imagine what it is. But I think Toyota should just drag this thing right into 2027, set some kind of record for the longest unchanged production run of one single vehicle. I mean, drag the Tundra while you're at it too. I don't know. I think Toyota absolutely should. It's not like they sell a bazillion of these, and I mean, they make huge profits, obviously, but rambling for no reason as per the norm. Base price for 2020 Toyota Sequoia SR5 is $63,290, which herein lies some of the issue, well, the main issue with this truck. That's somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 more, maybe even more than that, than what Chevy wants for a brand new 2020 Tahoe, which is, well, just far more modern truck than this, despite being really, really old. Never mind when the 2021 comes out. But the bug is, yeah, the Ford Expedition is less expensive than this to start, and it has a list of updated features, technologies, of modern 21st century conveniences that this thing will never ever have. So yeah, that's a problem. So the Grade Walk is SR5, then there's TRD Sport, and then there's this truck. I think you can see the badge there, right there on the door, and that tells you a lot of things. The TRD Pro. Right off the bat, I can tell you it is the only version worth considering if you're gonna go out and buy this truck, right? It includes these superb 18-inch BBS forged wheels, Rigid Industries fog lights, these different LED headlights, the Heritage grille, the gorgeous roof rack up there, a bunch of other things, the JBL audio on the inside, what else? Almost Fox shocks, and a series of other things. And here, I mean, despite the fact that this is the only Sequoia you should consider, here lies the big issue. Toyota wants $78,950 for this. I mean, I saw it 10 years ago. I don't see it today. and my biggest issue, I mean, let's keep in mind that I do live in the city, do most of my driving in the city, and if I leave the city, well, I usually drive on the highway, head out to the next city. A 2020 Dodge Durango SRT with options, really good options, is the same price as this thing. And in my mind, I mean, I love this thing. I could stare at it for days. It puts a smile on my face, but I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And there's one thing that's really weird and annoying, and I don't know who at Toyota decided that this was a good idea, but there's you see the tip of the tailpipe right there? That, I don't know why anyone would do that on a truck this size. This thing should have dual exhausts sticking out behind the rear wheels, like the TRD Pro package on the Tundra. Then maybe I would forgive a few things about it, but no, I don't know why they did that. Standard features, well, look, 7-inch screen, leather, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, moonroof, Toyota Safety Sense, power seats, leather. It's still reasonably well equipped for a 2010 vehicle. God, I'm so mean. And I really, really do love this thing. Let's do the rounds. I don't know if I'm gonna get this. These switches for the power door, it didn't work. You really have to hold it, as opposed to just depress it. You have to hold it for it to work, which is really annoying. Okay, like almost 1,900 liters of trunk space when the third row is folded in. Third row is power operated, so that's a nice touch, I suppose, but then you find out on a whole bunch of things, whole bunch of trucks, vehicles, vans, whatever. Lovely storage, yes. Ontario front plate where it belongs. When the third row is up, trunk space goes down to just over 500 liters. Still usable. Access to the third row is brilliant because this is a 7-seater configuration, and you'll see when I'll show you. Well, I'll just show you right now. This is what I mean. See, it takes a long time, and it's slowish. Kind of weird, but I'm sure that Toyota will fix that when the next generation comes out in 2028. No. All right, so there's room. This is what I mean. You can climb aboard these kind of ish okay running boards, just walk around, head to the third row, and there's a fair amount of space there. The age of this vehicle, there's a lot of telltale signs, but that's it. The space, it's still got a fair amount of kit back here, I suppose, but the room is unbelievable. Oh, and if you did happen to watch my Panamera review, you can see here that the greenhouse on this truck, because it's so old, is really big. The windows are huge. Well, the truck is very upright compared to the Panamera, of course, but my kids can see out the windows. They love it. All right. Plenty of room up here, obviously. Signs that this truck is older, too. It's 10-way power seat. It's reasonably comfortable, but there's no memory setting, which I guess is, you expect it in 2020. A lot of bins. Storage king of this truck is JBL, also part of the TRD Pro package. There's no power tilt telescoping. It's all manual steering wheel. There's no heated steering wheel either. There aren't even any cooled seats. For 80 grand, well, at least you can push start the thing. Gauges. There they are. I love them. Call me an old man, but analog, digital assistance in the middle with these fantastic gauges on each side. It's a perfect combination. It fits this truck, obviously. What else do I need to show you? Obviously, this thing has a full battery of safety features. Like I said, it's got TSS and a few other goodies. There's your 7-inch screen. This is a big truck, right? And that screen is really far away. My shoulder blade is leaning against my seat, and I can't reach the screen. I'm about almost 2 inches away. Even so, the menus are very simple. It's very straightforward. It's very old school, but it works. Speaking of straightforward, I love this. This is fantastic. It doesn't get simpler than that. Buttons, it's beautiful. It's old, but it works. So at least you got a couple USB ports. Like I said, storage. Okay, cup holders. Door bins are good. This is enormous. And here's a cool feature. If you're afraid of mask shaming, you can always hide it right there and nobody will see it. Can I close this up without seeing what I'm doing? Yes, I got it. All right, well, that's about it for the interior. Might as well do this now. Oh, normally aspirated V8. Gotta love it. On the road, this thing is getting so many looks. And I forgot to mention it, but here it is, army green. It's the only color you get this truck in. There are only like 4 available colors. This is the one, absolutely. And honestly, the color, this truck is getting so many looks just because of it. Anyhow, let's go for a spin as we do. So, driving the Sequoia is, well, it's just damn fun. And here's one thing I always forget about these trucks. It's the turning radius. I know this is kind of silly, but it is so tight for a 5.2 meter long, full-size 3-row SUV. It turns on a dime. Keep turning. And if I'm in 2-wheel drive, if I was to put the foot down, well, I would have a lot of fun. But hey, I won't do that. Speaking of steering, the truck turns. You give it some input and things happen. That's about it. It is a hydraulic system, and it is over-assisted. Old school, over-assisted. But it does the job. Speaking of old school, I used to complain a lot about Toyota brakes, the brake pedal feel, which had a lot of travel, sketchy initial, response. That's what this one does. It goes back to, the mid-2000s. And nothing, and then, okay, now it breaks. You get used to it. It's kind of annoying, but in 2020, unusual, I suppose. so many things to say, yet not much to say at the same time. You heard the 5.7. It is a glorious, normally naturally aspirated 5.7 liter V8 that puts out 381 horsepower, 401 pound-feet of torque, plenty adequate for the truck. All that torque comes in at 3,600 RPM, which means you're gonna step into it, and then when it kicks in, it's like, whoa, it's like variable valve timing. Maybe, I don't know. I should know. That's terrible. So yeah, once you get into it, the thing really starts to move, and you're having a great time. And then 6-speed automatic transmission shifts, the RPMs drop to nothing, and then you have to start all over again because the thing runs out of breath and gears, unfortunately. And that is also, part of the reason why. I mean, the truck is rated at an average of 16.4 liters per 100 kilometers, but if you do 55% of your driving in the city, you'll never better than 18 liters per 100 kilometers. That's about what I'm averaging at the moment, and I mean, that's just the nature of the beast, right? You cannot possibly be surprised or offended by this truck's fuel economy, because it is what it is, literally. But what the truck is also is that it can tow 7,000 pounds, and it has a lot of ground clearance, and it's a capable off-road truck. So, it's par for the course. Now, speaking of being capable for off-roading, I kind of forgotten, but I shouldn't have, and now I'm reminded, one of the best things about the TRD Pro package are the Fox shocks. Now, keep in mind, it's still a big old ladder frame truck, but the ride quality is surprisingly good. It is actually composed. In fact, I think this is the best driving Sequoia I've driven in, many years, because I've driven a few over the past near decade and a half. I feel like I'm being unnecessarily mean, but anyway, I'll be forgiven. I still love this thing. So yeah, the ride quality is good. It'll lean, but it handles. It does exactly what it is you want it to do. Now, do you buy this truck? Well, I can think of one really good reason why you should. It's not a good reason at all, but if you have 80 grand to burn before incentives and deals, should Toyota decide to heavily discount this truck, I can almost promise you that in 20 years from now, if you show up at a car show in this, you will be an absolute hero. I don't know exactly what it'll be called, but it'll be like the early 21st century Malaise truck, but uber cool Malaise truck. Like a Pontiac Bonneville SSEI. It's so cool, so terrible. Except this isn't terrible. But otherwise, if you've got 80 grand to buy an SUV with this, you don't do this. I mean, personally, myself, I want to consume fuel, make noises. Speaking of noises, the exhaust gets drony. You can't really hear it, I think, on the mic, but between 1,500 and 2,000 RPM, which is exactly where the tach sits, at 110 kilometers an hour, it drones. It gets really annoying. But yeah, no, 80 grand. 80 grand, this is not what I buy. I buy a Durango SRT. Otherwise, there's that Expedition, which is really interesting. That's it.